What's going on, sports fans? It's your boy Josh Williams back again with another episode of the American Fan 365 podcast. I am, of course, joined by the incomparable Miss Rosine.
Hello.
Ro, how are you feeling?
I'm doing good, and I'm so happy you didn't call me your Elaine again, because I'm not Elaine Bennis,
Listen,
and I don't like Seinfeld.
listen. You are my Elaine Bennis, and you will agree to that nickname.
Can't we think of like a cooler pairing?
That pairing has made billions of dollars. Billions with a B.
I'm not Elaine Bennis.
Who do you want to be?
I'd rather be Miss Costanza.
You're not Estelle.
I'd rather be Estelle.
You're...
She's cooler than Elaine.
Oh my goodness. But I have to also say that we are also joined by Fox, Mr. Fox. Okay, so let's start it. So Fox is your government name. We're gonna throw governments out
It's
here.
Mr. Fox Taylor. That's his stage name.
Fox Taylor.
We're gonna stick with Fox Taylor. All right, Fox.
Fox Taylor, the king of odds.
King of odds. You are an odds maker and a professional gambler.
Professional gambler, professional sports gambler, and consultant to hundreds, if not thousands, of clients who partake in sports betting.
Nice. Now, how long have you been doing that?
Professionally, a few years, and what I mean by professionally is people, clients, obviously, that decide to pay you because they want to be successful and win, right? I myself have been sports gambling since I could walk into the casino, legally.
Yeah.
And so I decided to take, what I was good at and what I had done and gained experience at for many years and turn that into a business and monetize that. And ultimately, it's not about the money. It's really about helping people, right? It's about maybe can't win, right?
Yeah.
And so
Or struggle to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So, being able to help others, because there's a lot of folks out there, they don't understand the lines, don't know how to read the lines. And there's just a wealth of knowledge, right, that could be lacking. And so that's where someone like myself comes into play. And like I said, the thing I take from it the most is I enjoy being able to help others, right? Being able to put somebody else in the winner's circle, them being able to get, to be able to be successful and be able to actually make money off it instead of losing or losing repeatedly. It's a great feeling. So
That's dope. Now, first off, where are you from?
I am from Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Also known as Champa Bay.
Or Tampa Bay Tampa Bay for a moment.
For a moment, it was.
There it is.
Now it's Kyle Trask at the helm. So, but luckily, I'm a big Florida Gators fan, and
Trask Bay.
Yeah, Trask was an absolute baller at the University of Florida.
Yes,
to be honest with you, I actually love the move. I love him. I love that Tampa Bay said, we're going to go ahead and roll with Trask, because I think that was huge. I think it was good for his psyche, for his confidence. They've already announced it.
Have they?
Yeah, that's public knowledge.
I didn't realize that they had done that.
Yeah, there was an article that came out where they said that they've already pretty much announced that Trask is going to be the quarterback moving forward. Now, could something change? Could there be more information? Could a free agent or maybe something unexpected happen? There's always that possibility. But that happened about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think that was smart. The guy, like I said, was a baller at the University of Florida. He was very good. You got to remember, he was the one that was throwing the ball to Kyle Pitts, who's now Atlanta Falcons tight end, and everybody has a lot of admiration for. And so Trask was good. He was very good, actually. I think he probably could have been a Heisman had they not lost a couple of games unexpectedly at the end of his season at Florida, his senior season. I think that he's a developmental quarterback, meaning that in a year or 2 or 3 from now, he could be one of those guys that we're talking about, hey, this guy is a top-level guy.
Yeah.
Again, that's a big if, right? But he's got to get that experience underneath his belt like so many do. I know we're going to talk about some other quarterbacks today, i.e. like Daniel Jones, et cetera. But I think that Trask could be one of those guys that in a year or 2 from now, we're like, wow, he just needed a little experience. He needed a little, some game time underneath his belt. And look at him go. So we'll see.
Another Florida quarterback is also in the draft this year. If Richardson drops past the top 10, do you think it makes sense for Tampa Bay to go and move up?
I mean, it's a tough one because of everything I just said, right?
Sure.
But I will tell you this. Anthony Richardson has such a high ceiling. He is so athletic. He's got the perfect NFL quarterback frame. He's so athletic. He's very talented. You know who he really reminds me of in terms of a comparison? And I'll speak to it a little bit more specifically is Josh Allen. When Josh Allen was coming out of Wyoming, you really only knew about Josh Allen if you were watching Mountain West games, West Coast late night games, because you got to remember back on the East Coast, we're not staying up at midnight when Wyoming decides to play BYU, right, at 9 p.m. or maybe 8:30 p.m., right? And so in all seriousness, he was really an unknown commodity until the draft.
Sure.
Nobody was really talking about him in terms of the big talking heads on TV. They were not talking about him during the season. They were talking about him when the season started to wrap up and they were moving into the NFL Combine. And then there was a buzz about Josh Allen, and he went higher than a lot of the average people thought that they were. And then people at home, right? The regular, let's say, common NFL fans, like, who?
Yeah, who is this guy? I've never
Wyoming?
And who scouted him?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Joe Shane did.
We were all wrong about that.
I have beef with University of Florida. Two words for you: Kadarius Toney.
We're gonna definitely. I'm sure we're gonna talk about that. Back to the Josh Allen thing and Anthony Richardson comparison, right?
Yeah.
During the season, there was probably a mention or two about how good Richardson could be, right?
Yeah.
And he had a good season. I don't know if he had a great season, right, with a capital G, but he was very good. He showed all these different things that he can do. I think that he had a lot of flashy highlights here and there.
Yeah.
And now, again, it really reminds me of some guys, again, Josh Allen and probably some others I'm sure that we could name, where only when it comes draft time are you like, who?
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute, this guy could be that good. So to be honest with you, if it was me and I was a team out there, I would be going Richardson. He would be my number one quarterback I'd be getting.
The Giants met with him.
I think you said that last week. You did say that last week. Yeah.
I think we said it over a call or when we saw each other for the.
We see each other too much.
Yeah,
it blends.
No,
all
because
blends.
it wasn't because it hadn't met last week. But by the time it was time for the marathon when we were back there, I brought it up. But yeah, the Giants met with him. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see this QB class because you have a handful of ballers and how it's going to pan out. But I think as an overall athlete, it is Richardson that has by far been the standout in the combine. And also, I forgot his name, but that one quarterback from Kentucky.
Levis.
Yeah.
Will Levis.
I think I don't know. I felt like the one person who agreed with me was Louis Riddick. I'm like, I wasn't that impressed.
Well, I never really was a Levis guy. Like when they were championing him, I was like, okay, but because they kept saying that he was coming to I'm sorry.
It's because he looks like Ivan Drago because he looks like the Great White Hope. No, and he's very muscular. He's very athletic. I mean, he is. If you think about a franchise and you think what a poster boy for a franchise would look like, I'm sure he would check all the boxes for a lot of teams. But when it came time to being against your peers, he didn't wow anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not surprised. Now, Fox, I was gonna ask you too. What would you consider your biggest triumph as a sports bettor?
When you say biggest triumph, specifically, what do you mean?
Maybe like like your biggest parlay hit, or or maybe
so his biggest wins.
Yeah, biggest win, or maybe even situation where it was the long shot, like you picked a champion that no one thought was going to win and they won.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give you a couple.
Okay.
The first one that comes to mind is a couple years ago, the first McGregor-Poirier fight. Am I saying it right? Is it Poirier or Poirier? Poirier. Okay.
That's Poirier.
Right. Yeah. So 50,000 on him to win. Where now the first fight he was a dog, right? And so that was a little unexpected. So I say 50,000. Some people are going to hear that and they're going to go, "Wow, that's a lot of money." Other people might hear that and go, "I'm surprised. That I would have thought maybe it would be more." But I'm very big on setting limits, and what I mean by limits is, what are you comfortable with losing? Can you go to bed tonight and can you lose 50,000, go to bed and go, no problem, we'll get that back. We'll get that back, right? Or it's not going to damage the bankroll to an extent that you're going to literally lose sleep over. Yeah. And so, I say 50,000. That could be big to some, that could be small to others. But I always think about the average cat sitting at home who's betting off the couch, right, eating their Lay's potato chips, and they're probably $100, $500 better, right? And so I look at I look at things like that, and so that was a really good win. That's on my Instagram. If you go to my Instagram, you can check that out. The copy of the tickets there. I've also had some other really big hits. I've nailed the Masters winner 3 years in a row.
Shut up.
So Three Masters ago, we had Dustin Johnson, who won the Masters. This was the Masters that was played in November.
Yes.
Okay, when COVID, correct.
Masters, yeah.
So I loved DJ going into the tournament. I can't remember; it eludes me right now. I want to say I had him at somewhere between 13 and maybe 15 to 1. Could have even been a little bit higher than that. Again, this is 3 Masters ago. So I had several $1,000s on him to win. That ended up happening. That was huge. And from an analytical standpoint, one of the things that I knew going into the tournament was the weather was colder because it was November at the Masters.
That's right.
When it's cold like that, and there had also been some rain, and it was being played again in November, and so that really toughened up the greens. Yeah. Right?
Cold and soft, yeah.
Right. So, excuse me. So it's cold, it's soft. You're not getting the same roll from the golf ball, whereas if it's springtime and it's hot and the greens are way more hard and that ball just rolls everywhere. Right. It's like hitting concrete. That's right. So the thing I knew going into the tournament was, as I looked at a couple of different golfers to win that tournament, the thing I looked at it is weather being a factor, and then who drives the ball really well. So DJ is a big bopper. Yeah. DeChambeau is a big bopper, meaning that these guys can take it from the tee box very close to the green, meaning these guys are going to, when it comes to a par 4 or par 5, they're going to have that advantage of that extra stroke or two where they're going to put themselves in positions for a lot of birdies and a lot of eagles. So had DJ, following year had Matsuyama. Now, these weren't the only golfers that I had. I had other picks in that tournament, right? But usually only about 3 to 5, right? Because you're doing that because you're hoping that you're going to hit one.
Of them, yeah.
Also going to bet who's going to place top 3, top 5, top 10. So you're sprinkling those in as well. And so had Matsuyama, and then last year, okay, this is something that I'm really proud of. I think it's really cool. I think that a lot of people who see this will be that much more interested, since we are talking about golf and the Masters, is Scheffler not only to win, Scotty Scheffler, right? Because he had just came off of 1 or 2 wins. I think he won the Arnold Palmer, and then he also won a tournament that was played in his home state of Texas right before the Masters. So he was hot. He had momentum, okay? So I looked at that going into the Masters, and so I went huge on Scheffler to win. You could catch Scheffler last year. I want to say it was 18 to 1, something like that. Okay, so several thousand on not only Scheffler to win, but I saw a prop bet on the board that I absolutely just loved. And I know how America and our sports gamblers today, they love prop bets, right? This is like taking the world by storm. And so I had Scheffler to win and then 2 prop bets. The first one, and this was just like, when I saw it, I just knew it. An American to win the Masters. Okay, so now if I bet an American to win the Masters, I caught it at minus 150. Okay, so it's $1.50 to win $1, right? So I look at the board and I analyze it and I go, okay, Scheffler is Scheffler's an American. Mm-hmm. There was Tiger Woods was an American. Now he was coming off another injury, but Tiger Woods has won the Masters how many times now? 3 or 4 times. So he was right. So he's I don't know if it's 6. I think it's 4.
5.
I think it's 4. I think when he won the last one, it was either his 4th or 5th. So he's a live dog.
5.
Okay.
So Tiger Woods is always a good bet, right?
Very good.
Well, not now.
Maybe
still.
No.
Well, I would say this. So going back to this specific prop bet, an American to win, you've got guys like Spieth, Thomas, Woods, Scheffler, and the Morikawa. Morikawa is technically because he's born in America and he plays. He's born in America and he plays as an American, right? Yeah. So again, that's just another. What I'm saying is start counting. Bubba Watson, former winner. Phil Mickelson, former winner. Right. All at the Masters. So I'm looking at the board and I go, wait a minute. I can get American to win at minus 150 as a prop bet, and I'm getting all these cats. Yeah. I was like, I'll take that.
Yeah.
So I'm not only hedging my Scheffler bet, right? Yeah. So I've got like $5,000 on Scheffler to win at plus 1,800, but I've also got a huge bet, right? I've got 10,000 on an American to win. So it's almost hedging to where even if Scheffler doesn't win, you see where I'm going with this? So this is the mathematics and the strategy that I bring to the table with a lot of my clients, and they really like that because they see that there's a lot of thought that goes into it, right? It's not just we're going to bet this one thing, but we're going to bet a few different things, and they all connect, right? They're all connected. And then the other thing now, this was really more so for fun, for the people that are going to watch this later, exercise caution. But I had 50,000 on would there be a hole-in-one at the Masters.
Oh, wow.
Last year, there was one.
Oh, my God.
And it was on day 2. Okay, and and let me just say this. I'm going to throw out some really rough math. Forgive me if I'm off by just a tad. This is what I did prior to going to the tournament. I see a prop that I like, i.e., I see this one that there'd be a hole in one. Correct? So I see that I can bet there would be a hole in one. The juice on this was like minus 160. So again, $1.60 to win $1. I'm fine with it. That's fine. I lay the big bet, and when I did the math prior to this, I look at it and I go, okay. This is rough math. There's 200 guys that are going to play in the Masters, right? At least in the first 2 days before they do the cuts.
That's right.
How many par threes are on the golf course at the Masters?
I think like 5.
5 or 6, something like that, right? So do the math. 200 guys golfing. Each one of them is going to play a par 3 at a minimum. You say there's let's say there's 5.
So 10. You have 10 shots at it times 200
right.
guys.
Times 2 days.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
So how many? And it gets better. Then going into Saturday and Sunday after the cuts, you still got all the top guys that are in the mix. They're going to have those par 3s on Saturday and on Sunday. Now the chances of a hole in one happening on Sunday when things are really tight and I'm going to say that those chances maybe are reduced by just a little bit.
Outside of 17, because 17 gives you, where Tiger made that big dramatic shot. Everyone knows where the ball is going to feed to. So if you can hit your spot on 17
correct.
At Augusta, 17 gives you a chance, but I'm not praying for 17. I'm going to say that.
So again, a couple of interesting prop bets. Hole in one happened second day. It was by a gentleman I can't even remember. He was one of these.
I get a jersey.
I get it tattooed at this point. Like he just won me.
He was one of the older gentlemen. Matter of fact, if I think about it long enough, I'll remember. But either way, he was an older gentleman. I think he may have been. He definitely was a gentleman who had won a few golf tournaments before in his prime. He's one of those guys that he gets the special invite because he's been around forever.
He probably had won the Masters at least.
Matter of fact, his son was his caddy, if that rings a bell for anybody. But regardless,
not Bernard Longer.
No.
Oh, that's gonna bother me. But okay, maybe Watson.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Watson because.
But one of the guys of no Tom Watson.
Oh, Tom Watson. Yeah, no, it wasn't him. Yeah, sorry.
I was like Tom ain't
young. Yeah. But nevertheless, you asked me about a couple of big wins, and I throw some of these other sports out there because I think that people will find that to be interesting. Because, when you go online or you go on Instagram and you look at some of these different
Sink.
Bingo, Sink. Yep, Sink.
Oh, so Stuart Sink. So
yeah,
Stuart
that's the son.
Yeah,
Stuart. So okay,
right.
The son. Yeah.
So I think when you look at, everybody knows we're going to bet football, we're going to bet basketball. Those are all gimmies, right?
Sure.
But to hopefully to be able to come on and share some stories about some of the other different sports, i.e., golf, UFC. And then one more, and before I bore you guys to death, is I had a huge win in NASCAR. It was a few years back. I've actually hit many NASCAR races. I'm one of the top handicappers in the sport. Wow. Right? You're looking at me like that, and
that's dope. No, that's dope.
Did you hear our segment on NASCAR when you were?
No, that was the very beginning.
Yeah,
I did not.
He wasn't here.
But
for that
this is this is rough. I think I'm going to nail this. It was, I'm trying to think of the year real quick. 2000, I'm thinking it was either 2014 or 2015. We can look it up. I had Casey Kane to win the Indianapolis 400. Okay. He was 30-1 that year. 30-1. Simple bet, $1,000 on him to win. I only bet him. I bet a lot of drivers that day, right? But I only bet Casey Kane because he just from a fan standpoint, he was my favorite driver at the time. Okay. So I go, okay, I'm going to have these matchup bets. I'm going to have a couple of futures bets. And let me just go ahead and put a G on my guy, KK, right? Casey Kane. And because he was a fairly decorated driver. He's won a lot. He was good on the short tracks, not necessarily great on the bigger tracks, I should say, like the super speedways, but excellent on, 1.5 mile, 2 mile tracks. So I see that they're racing at the Indy 400. He had never won that. It was the Brickyard 400, at Indianapolis. Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis. And so long story short, I'm watching the race and there's a few laps to go. He takes the lead. Long story short, he ends up winning. It's a $30,000 win. And it was just something of pure magic. So hitting these future bets, i.e. NASCAR, Masters, and golf, different golf tournaments to include the Masters, et cetera, the boxing, UFC, stuff like that. And last but not least, of course, I had the Chiefs on the Super Bowl. And again, all this is documented. It's all on my Instagram. You can check it out.
We had the Chiefs too. We had the Chiefs winning it pretty early on. No.
Yeah, that's true. Chiefs or Bills. That was who I saw this year.
So not only Chiefs to win, but and this is something I talked about before with John, but better quarterback, better coach. I know a lot of people had some concerns about Mahomes' ankle. I did not. If you go back and you look and you count the days from when Mahomes first injured the ankle to when they were going to play in the Super Bowl, it was between about 21 and 27 days. And so I looked at that situation and I go, I think he's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. And it turned out he was fine. We had that little scare before halftime where he was limping off the field. I don't know if that was for dramatic effect. Maybe he had that planned out. But as you could see, he came out. They lit it up second half. We all know what happened. I'm not saying it wasn't a competitive game. It was absolutely a competitive game.
It was.
But I will take Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, who have total combined been to 6 or 7 Super Bowls. Now, when I say 6 or 7, I'm going back to Andy Reid being on some of the other former teams he was on as an assistant coach or a coordinator.
Yep, sure.
So Eagles, Packers. I think he was with the Niners at one point in time.
Yes, he was.
Because he comes from the Bill Walsh tree.
That's right.
And so Eagles, Nick Sirianni, never been to the Super Bowl. You know, kind of like he was in his sophomore year as a head coach. Jalen Hurts, which, by the way, I love Hurts. I love the way he carries himself. I love his confidence, his swagger, his integrity, all these intangibles, his leadership. This guy is an incredible guy. He's an incredible quarterback. He's an incredible athlete. But what I knew was that when it came to throwing the football, Mahomes is superior.
Yeah.
And I knew that Jalen Hurts would do a great job of running it, which he did.
Yeah.
He would do a great job of improvising and making plays, which he did and kept it close.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was Mahomes and that talented arm that he has.
And the coaching.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what took us home, baby.
a lot of professional bettors don't have teams. They don't root for teams.
Yeah.
They actually choose to stay out of it. A lot of fantasy people too. They don't have it. They're like, whoever's on my fantasy team, that's who I root for. Do you have a football team?
Absolutely. Diehard San Francisco 49ers fan.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Since I could turn on the television, right? I just fell in love with the Niners, and I always get this all the time. People are like, you are extremely a misplaced fan. You're from Florida, but you love the Niners. What is going on? And as you guys know, when I was growing up,
Tampa was trash.
Tampa was trash.
Yeah.
They were so bad.
Forever.
They were
creamsicle
bad.
uniform.
They were
think,
bad.
Like, really, I mean, if you were to ask, just to put me on the spot and just say, name any Tampa Bay Buccaneers player, the only person I'd think of, like, immediately is Cadillac Williams.
Doug Williams.
I was going to say Doug Williams.
Doug Williams was their first draft pick.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of interesting stories about Tampa Bay and back in the day, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. Steve Young went there. He was there for a year or two. But really interesting nugget of information. And I didn't even know this until I listened to the book. Notice I said listen, not read. I listened to Life Behind the Spiral by Steve Young. I listened to it on audio because I'm a Niners fan, a Steve Young fan, and I listened to the book. And in the book, Steve Young talks about there was a meeting between the old Bucs owner, Steve Young. They're out at a steakhouse in Tampa Bay, and they're trying to recruit Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Because they had the rights to Bo Jackson, right? They had the rights to Bo Jackson, something like that. I want to make sure I got the facts straight. So it was something like that where they had this opportunity to bring Bo in, right? And so it's Steve Young, the owner of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Bo Jackson, and the Bucs were not good. And ultimately, the story ends with Bo Jackson. As the owner got up, went to the bathroom, Bo Jackson looks at Steve Young. He's like, I'm not coming to Tampa Bay. And Steve's like, man. He's like, we would really love to have, we could really be good with you and I on the team and everything. And ultimately, Bo decided that he was not, I think he went back, played. I think it was because he was going to go back.
Well, no, remember, Bo lost his eligibility off of that dinner. So
that's right.
So he didn't actually end up, the reason he did not come to the Buccaneers was because he said, basically, Tampa Bay, the owner said that, hey, we cleared it with, the NCAA, you're okay to take this dinner, whatever. And so then for baseball season, he was having a good season, and then he ended up becoming ineligible because of that dinner. And so he told the Bucs before the draft, if you draft me, I will not come.
Right. He did say that. Yes. Yeah. He did say
he was
wouldn't
like,
come.
I'm not coming. And so that's the reason why he didn't go to Tampa Bay.
Yeah. But can you imagine what could have been?
Oh my God.
My God.
And that was back in a day where the running back was the superior position.
Yes.
Quarterback was mostly a game manager. Not that you didn't still need a talented quarterback, don't get me wrong, but back then they'd pass for 3,000 yards and that was a big deal.
And you weren't expected to be mobile.
Right.
You were relying on your coaches to tell you what they think the defense read was going to be.
Yep.
You're just making sure you're not getting hit because you had to stay in the pocket. It's a different game. So because we're getting to know you sports-wise, I have a few questions. This is think of it as speed dating, but just for sports. Okay. So one of my favorite questions to ask, because I'm always curious where your head is, and this is not who is the best, but who are your top 5 favorite wide receivers in the last 15 years?
In the last 15, that kind of makes it tricky.
Yes, and that's why I ask. And again, it's not who's the best rank. It's who are your favorite.
Your favorite, not necessarily
favorite.
Statistically.
Sure.
All that stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I'll give you mine. I'll definitely give you my favorite. I guess first question is, we're in 2023, so if we subtract 15 years, is Jerry Rice still in the league at that time?
No.
Is he finishing up with the
he's-
Seattle
No,
Seahawks?
no.
He's gone.
Okay, so I will absolutely go Randy Moss because he was definitely still in, because 2007 was when he was with the New England Patriots.
He was still in, yes.
And he was a baller. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll
100%.
definitely go Randy Moss in no particular order. Terrell Owens is still in the league at that point.
Yeah.
Whether or not whether he's in his prime at the end with the Bengals
That might have been
Bills.
Bengals, but he still was killing with Chad.
Yeah.
On the Bengals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll go with those two at the top. Of course, we're going to go Calvin Johnson, Megatron. I mean,
That's
like
my guy. Megatron's my guy.
That's a no-brainer. And then I'd like to be able to come up with maybe one or two here at the end that are slightly unexpected.
Okay.
And so we'll go with someone very, very recent. And I think I would just be remiss if I didn't say Cooper Kupp, because the guy is obviously undersized, but he has achieved so much. Last year he could have easily, not when I say last year, 2 football seasons ago, he really could have been at least the offensive MVP of the league.
Yeah.
Right? With all the different decorations he had.
He could have.
Because he led the league in the triple threat, the triple three, right? Most catches, most receiving catches, and most
yards.
And
he had
most
yards.
right.
I think he didn't have touchdowns. I don't think he had touchdowns.
He led the league in 3 of the big 3 in terms of everything that had to do with wide receiver, in terms of catches, the yards for completions, etc. So I definitely would have to go Cooper Kupp. And gosh, I'm probably going to miss somebody here because wide receivers, there's a lot of them.
Not Julio Jones.
No, I would not be going Julio Jones. Hopefully that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings here, but Julio was good, right? He was really good. He had some prime years in Atlanta, but there was also so many times where he was hurt. Right,
Yeah.
even in those prime days, there
was
was many times where he was hurt, and I think it's because he's a bigger guy, right? So when you're bigger, when you're taller, and you're a little heavier, what I mean by heavier is naturally at 6'4", 6'5", you're 220, you're 225 even as a wide receiver. So I think and he jerks around his body because he was so great at route running, and just gyrating your body in all those different ways at that height and that weight. Probably it takes its toll.
Shakes things loose.
Yeah, it does. It does.
What about Larry?
Larry Fitz? See, again, this is crazy because I think about Larry Fitzgerald, right, in his prime. Well, his prime makes me think about like when they went to the Super Bowl against the Steelers, and that was 2008. That was the 2008 season. It's played in 2009, right? And that was the year that Santonio Holmes had the tippy toe catch.
Yes.
He had the tippy toe catch.
That's one of the greatest catches for me all time.
I agree.
I don't see. I think it's so funny. I'm watching NFL Network the other day, right, and they're talking about the greatest Super Bowl catches of all time, and we always talk about the helmet catch, right, with David Tyree.
Yeah.
We even talk about the Mario Manningham catch down the sideline.
Absolutely.
In the second.
You're scratching a lot of her itches right now.
Do you know what's wild? I don't even think that they talked about the Santonio Holmes catch.
That catch,
because without that catch, Arizona wins.
Yes.
Right. I think the coach at the time of the Cardinals was it Bruce Arians or was it
No.
Was it Ken Wisenhunt or was he the offensive coordinator?
It was Ken.
Okay. Listen, can you imagine if the Cardinals win that Super Bowl? Not to get too far off track here. Yeah. If the Cardinals win that Super Bowl, that is a game changer for so many players on that team. Because you know how it is. When you get a Super Bowl, you're in a certain echelon of players forever. Same thing with the coach. If you're a Super Bowl winning coach, you'll always be introduced as Super Bowl winning coach.
That's right.
X, Y, Z, whatever the case, right? And so, but back to the original question about the wide receivers is, we left off at Cooper Kupp. As I'm searching through my brain and I'm thinking about wide receivers. I mean, Fitzgerald is a great one. You're expecting something.
I'm only gonna say I loved Steve Smith.
Oh boy, yeah.
Steve Smith with horrible quarterbacks.
He's aggressive. He was so aggressive. I really liked him.
You know what? I hate that because of what has transpired in his life. But I think Antonio Brown is absolutely. I mean, and when I say is, I'm taking away all the nonsense. I think Antonio Brown. How do you feel about Odell Beckham Jr.?
You know, when it comes to Odell, this is going to be a little controversial. If Odell doesn't make one of the most spectacular catches that has ever been filmed in NFL history in that Giants-Cowboys game a few years back, I don't even think he would have the cachet or the swag that he has today, because that put him on the map.
1,000%.
He was very good at LSU, but it wasn't like he was the number one pick coming out of the draft. Not that a wide receiver ever really is. It's very rare. But he was good, right? Then he goes to the NFL. And listen, did anybody ever talk about Odell Beckham Jr. before that catch?
Well, hold on. He was Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, but being rookie of the year, if we put that in perspective to your question now, you know, the question comes up because there's so many people that think he's so great.
I'm on your side, but I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah. Well, no, he's Rookie of the Year, but at the same time, again, put in perspective, how many years ago was that now? 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Yeah,
no, it's been some
I think
time.
it's been 9 years.
Right. And the year he was Rookie of the year that he was Rookie of the Year, he was probably the number one featured wide receiver, so he was the most targeted. I guarantee he was probably the most targeted in terms of all the wide receivers at that time. And good for him. I absolutely respect his ability and his talent when he was in his prime. But again, I just go back to he wouldn't even have the cachet that probably is still everlasting from that catch, because that influenced. It's kind of like how Steph Curry has influenced the players of today, the young kids coming up. How the three-pointer is so much more. Yeah. It's so much more acceptable to shoot it from long range. Yep. Vice when I was younger, where a three-pointer was almost taboo. It was almost like you don't shoot a three-pointer unless you are a three-point shooter, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And what I mean by that is if you're not Ray Allen, if you're not Larry Bird, right? If you're not
Paxton.
Steve Kerr, if you're not John Paxson, if you're not Dan Marley, right? Why are you shooting a three-pointer? Because that's how the NBA used to be.
That's right.
Guys kind of ignored the three-point shot because it was only like if you're one of these dudes.
That's right, Reggie Miller.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Reggie Miller at the same time.
Hey, Glenn Rice.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like a coveted thing. You know, when I was growing up, I remember my high school and my junior high coach telling me, and this is years and years ago, hey, scoot in, that's not your range.
Yeah.
That always bothered me, and I ended up when I did play, I ended up doing very well. I ended up being a three-point shooter myself. A little shout out to me, right? But
shameless plug,
right? But my point is that my coach treated it like that. Whoa, what are you doing? Move up. Why are you shooting a 30-foot shot? You need to shoot this juicy little 12-footer, right? Which I hated those. I like the long range, something about it. I just thought the three-pointer was a very sexy thing at the time. And now the way that Clay and Steph and all these guys in the league, I mean, now there's so many guys that want to emulate that, and it's so much more acceptable.
Well, because we're in a highlight reel TikTok world, and it's all about that. Nobody's taking shots from mid-range. It's either layups or it's either the 3-point shot, where it's really the basketball that I grew up with. Like Pat Riley was very big on, it is volume. You get those buckets in.
Yeah.
And now it is not that. Yes, it makes for an exciting clip and highlight reel, but I agree. And just to reaffirm your point, with Odell, after that one-handed catch in practices, all he would do is try to make one-handed catches. Yeah. And you're like,
and so did everybody else.
Yeah, well, Odell,
once he did that,
Odell got a huge kick out of it, right? He actually had the balls to say maybe the NFL should change their logo to like he wanted a Jordan-like silhouette. Like with him, but now he has his own apparel. So you keep it over there, honey. I agree with you, and it's unfortunate. I think he's supremely talented. I think he's a once in a lifetime talent. But now, unfortunately, with him, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, because he makes it very stressful for the quarterback. Because the last thing the quarterback needs to do is worry about you in the presser post game, throwing everybody under the bus because he doesn't think that you threw it to him enough. I think he's a locker room cancer. I think him and Eli Apple in that regard will wreck a locker room. And I mean, I get he had his ACL now twice, but I got to tell you, my big thing with him, and I've talked about this a few times on the show, is a week after he signed the highest contract for a wide receiver post-rookie for $90 million with the New York Giants, he was on ESPN a week later with Lil Wayne talking about how he thought that New York was too cold and he'd like to play someplace warmer. That is the day that I said, I will not wear this man's jersey. Yeah. I am not an Odell Beckham Jr. fan anymore. Because and then, he's fighting nets and he's causing all the, and then they're like, no, he just needs to be in his element. So he goes to the Cleveland Browns. He's playing with his best friends. He's playing with Jarvis Landry, who he went to school with, who he went to LSU with. He went with Kareem Hunt, with Nick Chubb,
Baker Mayfield, who was setting the world on fire at that point in the league.
And so everyone's like, oh, you're crazy to not love Odell. I'm like, am I? Because let's think about it. Do I think now the Rams would have won without him? That's a good question, because I don't think that they could have gone that far without him.
Yeah,
could they have
that
won?
answer I can say unequivocally is no. They don't win that Super Bowl without him.
Yeah.
Because now this is easy to say in hindsight, right? Take away the touchdown, because he scored the first touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Right.
He was balling. Even the play he got injured on was like a 10-yard catch, right?
Yeah,
so he was doing very well. He was probably, there was a high probability that he could have even been Super Bowl MVP, right? But take away that touchdown, the Rams lose that game. They lose by 4.
By 4,
that's
right. So I mean, as also coming from a betting perspective, right? That line for that Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, hovered in between like 2.5, maybe even touch 3. You have to forgive me because that was 2 or 3 Super Bowls ago now, or 2, I guess it was. But I think it was 3, right? Wasn't that line? I think that line was 2.5. It hovered between 2.5 and 3. Excuse me. So you take away that Odell touchdown, and they don't win. And I know he didn't play in the second half, so there was some adjustments made by the Rams to utilize other guys to matriculate the ball down the field. But he made a huge impact. I do think he learned a lot, because we all grow, right? We've all had our immature moments in life, regardless of our careers and things like that. And I think it's no different for professional athletes. I bet you, if you asked Odell today, I bet you he is so embarrassed to how I guarantee he would probably use the word embarrassed of how he acted as a New York Giant. The whole thing with fighting the nets, throwing people under the bus.
I don't think he would. I think he's very self-righteous. I think that he is the exact opposite. I think he's the type that grows roots in something you disagree with him about. And I'm going to give you two pieces of some food for thought. I was going to say 2 pieces of nugget. All right. So don't you remember when he met with the Giants, the Bills, and then met with the Cowboys?
Of course.
Okay. Do you remember Jerry Jones pre-Odell visit? Do you remember Jerry Jones post-Odell visit?
Tell me.
Okay, so beforehand, Jerry Jones was he's made to wear the star. The star.
He did say that. Yeah.
He is made for Dallas football. Like, couldn't stop talking about it ad nauseum. Hyped. Post visit, like, you didn't hear anything until the day after. That night, he sent them all to the Mavericks game, and then the next day, Jerry Jones's energy level went from this to this. It was. I think he's a good young man, nice young man. We had a really good, we had some good discussions, and it's all about figuring out what's best for the team.
Right.
That right there, because Jerry Jones loves to showboat, right?
Take every opportunity you can.
Every opportunity. You went from talking about Odell wearing the straw. That to me is like, there is a just like I think there is with Eric Bieniemy that nobody talks about. I think there is an inherent personality issue where now he's torn up locker rooms, and Odell will not be the prettiest girl at the ball in Dallas. So, I think that to me was a really, really big deal. And the Miami incident on the plane.
Yeah, we never got really the full story of
Did you see the video?
I don't know if I don't know.
The video.
I think I just saw like a photograph. But not a video.
The actual video where they they showed, somebody on the plane was videoing the whole situation.
So what was the situation?
It was blown. It was.
He refused to put a seatbelt on. They came over, asked him multiple times. He still refused.
So
he
was
drunk and asleep.
He was being a princess about putting on a seatbelt.
Yes.
But they also were still on the ground.
Right.
Like he was knocked out sleep. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
like all of us have gone on a plane and passed out.
I don't know if I've ever gotten on a plane leaving Miami sober and not half asleep by the time because I'd been up for a couple of days.
1,000%.
So I understand that.
He should have put it. I mean, if he puts a seatbelt on, there's no problem.
That's
The fact that he didn't tells me that he was like, I'm Odell Beckham Jr.
But Fox, it's that part. Like, just put your fucking belt on. And now you're grounding the rest of the plane.
Yeah.
Well,
just put your belt on.
It was like I could tell it was a little bit more from the flight attendants as well. Like they had it. They wanted a moment as well.
No, he could have. They could have.
Oh, I believe that wholeheartedly, man.
Okay, but they could have avoided the whole maybe. But once, but the minute I'm like, put your seatbelt on, even if I'm like half in the bag, you just put your belt on, and that's that.
Yeah, because they were saying that like he didn't have his clothes on or whatever, but he was clothed.
Yeah,
and
it certainly
made weird.
It made headlines. It was a heck of a story. I want to go back to what you said a little while ago about pre and post visit with the Cowboys. There is I don't know if there's anybody on planet Earth that is better at PR than Jerry Jones. And I mean, if you turn on the television and you watch a lot of the morning shows, right? There's 3 or 4 big ones out there. I'm not going to plug them, but we all know what they are, right? And so, sometimes I watch some of these shows and it's like it might as well be called the Dallas Cowboys show because they talk about them so much, but that's because they're obviously they're the most profitable sports team on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's built that up. I have mad respect for that from a business standpoint, what he has done in terms of what he bought them for to what they're worth now.
It's disgusting.
It's incredible.
He's a master marketer.
But if you think about it, I really mean this when I say this. I don't know if he ever really actually wanted Odell or not, or if the whole thing was just designed to say, hey, come on, let's look at look at us some more. Because they went from Odell Beckham Jr. And by the way, one of us can probably spout out a couple of free agents that were available, but we're going to potentially sign Odell Beckham Jr., which would have been just massive, right? This would have been huge. To then they ended up signing, what's his name, from a previous Indianapolis Colts player, T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton, that's
right. So
that's
we
right.
went from making a move that would be viewed as like, wow, that's like a 9 out of 10 move, right?
Wow. A very loud move.
Loud, lavish,
yes.
attractive move.
Yes.
Odell, Dallas Cowboys star. Even if he would have just had, because he at that time he would have only played in a few regular season games.
That's right.
And then the playoffs, right? Given his health would have stayed intact. That would have been really, really something.
It's very on brand for them.
Yeah.
Exactly, because you think about all the times that they brought somebody in who was controversial. That list is long. And then you go T.Y. Hilton. Did he ever even catch more than 5 or 6 balls?
Well, the thing
he
is,
got a couple touchdowns.
And I didn't really
For the Cowboys?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about it that way though. But you know what? Before that happened, I said they don't even need him. They don't need Odell Beckham Jr. Their roster. Listen, I loathe this organization. I mean, loathe them. But
Dallas?
Oh my God.
Well, you bleed blue.
Giants, Redskins. So
like,
yeah.
I
that
mean,
hate is.
honestly,
I'm a Niners fan, so you know I don't like Dallas.
Wait, first of all, and there's something that I've got to say to you as a 49ers fan, but really quick, wrapping up this Odell conversation. They didn't need him. If you look at their roster, I said for the last couple of years, and asked Josh, we have it on tape, I've said they've had a Super Bowl caliber roster, but the reason the Dallas will never flourish is because of the Jimmy Johnson curse. I always say until Jerry Jones makes it publicly right with Jimmy Johnson and says that was not Barry Spitzer's team, that was your team. This curse will never go away, but Jerry Jones just does not have it. It will. He came close. Oh my God! Before this last season started, my upper lip was sweating because he's like, okay, so I could have handled it better.
Right.
Okay, and that's
a billionaire's apology, bro. I'm sorry to tell
that's
you.
a narcissist's apology.
That's a billionaire person's apology.
All right, but you know what? But listen. If I kind of see, but he's so self-involved that he would never consider that it's his own karma. Okay, I knew that the Niners were going to lose to the Eagles when, Josh.
Oh,
I don't know, when their third string quarterback was the starter.
Oh, no. It was when the fans put the Brocky belt on the Rocky statue. I was like, I literally posted a story. I said, I had these. I'm like, birds by 40.
I got a question for you. I'm going to say two things, if I may.
Please.
First thing, if the Cowboys sign Odell, now you've got CD on one side. And I don't like Dallas, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I loathe them. They stopped the Niners from going to 2 additional Super Bowls back in the 90s, okay, in NFC Championship games. But if you have Odell on one side, CeeDee Lamb on the other, Dalton Schultz all over the middle, right, as the tight end.
Dalton's gone.
Is he gone?
They're not bringing him back.
They're not going to bring him back.
Right,
now.
too expensive is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, but seriously, CeeDee got double covered quite a bit. Now go back to when Amari Cooper was on the Cowboys. You could not double because Amari he's such a fundamentally sound wide receiver. I know he's not a huge splash wide receiver, right? He's maybe not as splashy, so to speak, as like an Odell or a CeeDee Lamb, or even make plays like a Cooper Kupp or like maybe a better comparison. Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs. I love me some Stephon Diggs, by the way. Yeah. But I mean, if you get Odell on that Dallas team, I think that would have been scary. The only thing that would have stopped them, which is really their Achilles heel, and I don't want to say this and then it could cause us to easily go off on a tangent, but I'm sorry, Dak Prescott's not the answer.
Well, and look, in the flip side of that, truthfully, is that they've put themselves in a corner because now you can't necessarily cut him, but
definitely can't cut him.
He has too many scars, like mental scars from playoff losses. That now it's like, I don't know if you're ever going to advance, so you're in this stuck position. And
I mean, check this out. Dude played at Mississippi State. He played under Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen was the offensive coordinator for both University of Florida championships when they had Chris Leak and Tim Tebow, and he coached with Urban Meyer. Okay, Dan Mullen was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Okay, he was as good as an offensive play caller as there's ever been in college football, and then he goes to Mississippi State. I think Dan Mullen really, during his time at Mississippi State, put them on the map in a way on ESPN and other networks when they were playing, where people tuned in because Mississippi State, you got to remember, not only did he have Dak, he had the other kid that was after Dak. He had an Irish last name. It eludes me at the moment. We can figure it out. But nevertheless, they had their most success. They were not the same after Dan Mullen for a couple of years, and then they got Mike Leach, rest in peace, and he's obviously air raid offense, etc. But I'm making a point. I'm long-winded, but I'm making a point here. Dak went in the 4th round, even winning a lot of games, even having Dan Mullen, and I think it was because he was a product of the Dan Mullen system. Chris Leak never played in the NFL. Right, like actually started a game. He might have been on a practice squad somewhere.
He was on some rosters.
Yeah, he was on some rosters, but he never played.
That's right.
And he was a very good quarterback at Florida. At one point in time, he went back to University of Florida and was the quarterback's coach. I think that time has passed. That was years ago, a few years back. Tim Tebow obviously played. We know the Tim Tebow story and all that kind of stuff. But I'm making a point. Sometimes a 4th rounder is just a 4th rounder. You could put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig, baby.
It's still a pig.
I just think when it comes down to it, he shits the bed at the very end. And Josh and I have a running joke. We always say that train is never late. Like, they'll always lose by the first round. I mean, you can hype it up all you want. But you know, it blows my mind because I look at their roster. First of all, they should have never let Amari Cooper go, but him and Dak were not good. He actually called Dak the Black Kirk Cousins. But
did he really?
Yeah. Him and I were laughing about it forever and ever.
While he was on the team, he said that?
No,
Right
after he left.
Oh,
Amari
okay.
Cooper
Via Twitter, he's like he called Dak the Black Kirk Cousins. The amount of tears from laughter that brought me was unreal. But listen, given this quarterback market, if you have a team desperate enough, in the same way the Browns were desperate enough to give Deshaun Watson that contract, you never know what could happen. I think some of them might take the brunt of what was left on the contract and pay him, because that's the quarterback market that has young Daniel Jones thinking he deserves north of $45 million.
Which is wild.
Wild, fucking wild.
By the way, on this, just one last thing on this Dak situation, right? I'm going to say two things. Give you two examples. When the Bucks wanted to win a championship, they got Tom Brady. The team was in place. Mike Evans, right? Yep. And the list goes on. Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans.
Chris Godwin.
Thank you. Chris Godwin. A couple other really good role-type players, right? Scotty Miller, you know, he's kind of like a role player.
Tight end was
Cameron
was
Brate.
Yeah.
Their offensive line and defensive line. Name me some of those defensive superstars that they had. Vita Vea. Ndamukong Suh came in that year.
That's right.
There's a couple of Devin White.
Antoine Winfield. Was a
Antoine
rookie,
Winfield, Devin White. JPP was on that team.
Yes,
They got Tom Brady. I'm going somewhere with this. They got Tom Brady. Boom, they win, right?
Yeah.
1 year.
Let me give you another example. Matt Stafford, gunslinger, bad mamma jamma, leaves Detroit, goes to the Rams. Bingo, Super Bowl. So now you look at I'm going somewhere. Dak Prescott, just not the guy.
Yeah.
He's not the guy. You can put all these pieces around him, and he still couldn't get it done. When you brought in a true gunslinger, when you brought in a true quarterback at Tom Brady in terms of that cerebral talent mixed in with the physical talent, right? Because him and Peyton Manning, right, are so similar in terms of just how smart they are and how they can. And what I mean by that is being able to read defenses, being able to be quick on their feet, decision-making wise, and leadership. Stafford doesn't necessarily have all those, but boy, can he throw a football.
Yeah, sure does.
And they won a Super Bowl. Yep. And Tom Brady went to the Bucs and won a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott has been in place in Dallas like 6 years now.
7, I'd say.
Maybe
6 or
7.
Yeah.
And he can't get it done.
Under two different coaches. And, you know, the thing is, I would say before the Super Bowl, during the playoffs, and people were bad-mouthing the 49ers and Brock Purdy. I'm like, whoa, wait, Brock Purdy has won as many playoffs games as Dak Prescott and Tony Romo. See, now, but we can also talk about coaching and Dak. I think with Tony Romo, if you gave him a better coach, he would have had at least 2 rings. I think Tony Romo's football.
He had Bill Parcells.
Well, listen.
Yeah, Bill didn't want to be there no more.
Yeah, he didn't want to be there no more.
Bill was dyeing his hair blonde. It was a wrap for Bill. But that was it.
He looked like Hulk Hogan at the end.
But you know what though? Tell me that Bill Parcells wants to lose, and that's like an oxymoron.
Oh
no, that's fair. That's fair.
And I remember right, because I got a memory like an elephant. Tony Romo takes off from like the 5-yard line, and he's caught literally on the heels and goes down just before crossing the goal line. Boom, they lose that playoff game. That was Bill Parcells' last.
I remember that.
Well, that was Bill Parcells' last coach game.
That
for
was
the Cowboys.
The Seahawks game, right? That was the one.
It was against the Seattle Seahawks
with the muff. That was with the muff field goal.
Yes.
That's with the muff field goal with the shiny football.
So Romo takes off. Hey,
I had never seen a football look that shiny.
Watching it live, it looks like, oh my God, Romo's about to run this thing. It's over because they get that touchdown. It's over. It's done. There's not even enough time left.
That's right.
Right, and it's done. It's pretty much done at that point. He gets caught from the back because he's slow, right? And he gets caught, and it's done. Bill Parcells loses. That's the last game he ever coached. He had Bill Parcells. He didn't win. You know what I mean? Now, Bill Parcells is more of a defensive guy.
Yes.
Right? And before, I know we're talking a lot about the Cowboys and Dak and everything else.
No, this is
I think it's a huge mistake. If I was Jerry Jones, let me tell you what I would have done. I would have definitely gotten rid of Mike McCarthy. I think that guy is an absolute.
No,
I think
keep him in place.
Right.
Please keep him.
Commanders fan says keep him in place.
Please keep him in place.
Listen, the clock management thing is out of this world.
But we were he had the exact same problem. I didn't mean to cut you up, but the same issues in Green Bay.
He had the same issues in Green Bay. He needs to call Aaron Rodgers every night and wish him well and thank him because
wish him well.
Because if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, and I don't even like Aaron Rodgers, you want to talk about pretentious. I can't stand him. But do I respect his ability?
I feel like we're kindred spirits. You don't even understand.
Listen,
this episode was not even supposed to have any football, and we have gone football.
Yes, all football, yes.
Mike McCarthy should be so grateful because he would be, I don't know, plowing the fields in Texas if it wasn't for Jerry Jones bringing him in, and because he had the one lone Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, which they should have had more, just speaking from a talent standpoint in terms of how good Aaron Rodgers is. It's just unbelievable. That's a whole other segment, right? But again, his clock management's awful. And then you talk smack, which I did tune in the other day, and I heard you guys talk about with Kellen Moore.
I was going to ask you about that.
You let Kellen Moore go, right? Because that doesn't get blessed off. Jerry Jones just listens to McCarthy in that respect.
Yeah.
Hey, you want Kellen Moore gone? Okay, I'll let you make that decision because you can have the staff that you want.
Sure.
You let a guy go who is an offensive guru. Kellen Moore, I don't know if I necessarily like him per se because I don't know enough about I don't know if I know enough about his personality to have a judgment on whether I like him or not per se. But one thing I do know is the guy set all kinds of records at Boise State as the quarterback at Boise. They had their best years under Kellen Moore. He literally set every quarterback record that was physically and humanly possible at Boise State. Which means what it tells you is, the reason I bring that up is because what it tells you is his football acumen and his decision-making and his understanding of the game is at such a superior high level. That's why 1 year after he no longer played, because I don't know if you guys remember, he was the backup quarterback at Dallas.
That's right.
Boom, he's the offensive coordinator. Now, I think he was the quarterback coach for a year.
I think so.
He was a quarterback coach before he went into
But I mean,
OC.
at the largest franchise in the NFL, the number one franchise in terms of monetary, et cetera, he goes from quarterback coach to offensive coordinator, and he was either 1 or 2 seasons. Yeah. And now he's gone, and he's with San Diego now, right? Or excuse me, he's with the Chargers now, right?
Yeah.
Watch. I mean, a futures bet might be in order on the Chargers this year for the simple fact that Kellen Moore linked up with Justin Herbert could be so much more dynamic.
Okay, and also staying on that point, they had the second or third highest scoring offense in the NFL, and that statement basically said, I think the words were, it's one thing to light up a scoreboard, but you got to win games.
And you got he said what he said was, which you're like 99% correct. He mentioned something in there, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, something about running the football.
Yeah.
So dude, you would have won more games if you would have ran the football and scored less points. And by the way, who was going to run the football? Tony Pollard is awesome. I'm jealous. I want to have him on the 49ers. That would have been, he's an incredible player. Listen, Tony Pollard was a superstar at Memphis. Mm-hmm. He was awesome. He was dynamic. He was like Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's who I would compare him to. In his college days and even as a pro, he's very Christian McCaffrey, like meaning good hands out of the backfield, but can also run the ball from the line of scrimmage. The dude darts out and all of a sudden it's 5-7 yards.
And he can play receiver. I feel like that position is evolving so quickly. We have we have Debo, we have CMC, we have Saquon that can act as receivers when necessary.
Yeah. So I don't understand. Zeke Elliott's past his prime, unfortunately, right? He went past his prime a little early. It's kind of odd how.
Fortunately.
Yeah, he kind of like 1 minute he was great, and then the next minute he wasn't so great. But that's what happens when you pay him. That's what happens when you overpay him, and you overpay him way too early. Yeah. I would have got rid of him if I was Jerry Jones when he pulled the whole thing. I'm in Cabo and I want X
stuff. Yeah.
Because he was good, but it wasn't like he was great. You know what I mean?
No, he was top 2 in the league at that point.
Yeah, I know, but
in terms of yards.
But I mean, proven performer long term.
Yeah,
it was like we all were enamored by this flash in the pan that he was his first year or two.
That's fair.
And then he's demanding all the money, but it's like the running back position already at that point, even 4 or 5 years ago, we already knew it wasn't the same as like a quarterback or a wide receiver in terms of skill players. I just think because the point is made right here with what we're talking about. Tony Pollard gets brought in, and then there's all this controversy about who really is the number one guy in terms of the running back. And even Dallas fans will tell you that they were they were leaning more towards Pollard. Pollard's a game changer. He's electric. He's electric. So, but I got you. Zeke was very good in his first year or two, and he totally capitalized on the situation, which you and I would probably definitely do. Hey, dude, I want to go ahead and get paid.
I mean,
go ahead and pay me. You know what I mean?
As he should, especially as a running back.
Yeah, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, the nature of that position, you're not going to be there long.
But imagine all the cap room.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't pay Dak and you don't pay Zeke.
Oh, you can do whatever you want.
What quarterback could you have right now?
I am so
almost
glad,
anybody you want.
I am so glad they did things exactly the way they did them. Please stay that way.
Yeah.
Please stay that way. But I think it's the way that McCarthy did Kellen Moore. I also said that this gives you there's a huge article that came out in Sports Illustrated a few years ago, but it was in segments, so you had to wait for the next episode or the next issue to get the next part, and it was about the contentious relationship between Aaron and Mike McCarthy, because at first they made it seem like it was McCarthy's the villain. Then you learn that they were both such nightmares, where you had Aaron Rodgers changing the call play in the middle of the huddle, but they were both shitty. They're both awful people. And if I'm Jerry Jones, why would I get Mike McCarthy? I've never understood.
It's perplexing, isn't it?
But I was going to say, this gave you a glimpse, and now you look back as if I was Aaron Rodgers, and I can't stomach him. That would vindicate me. I'd be like, you see, this is Mike McCarthy.
Absolutely. And if you've ever dealt with somebody who had a similar personality like Aaron Rodgers, highly talented, and so they tend to be narcissistic, but they also tend to be a little pretentious. But it's fed by their talent and their ability, and they know that they see things on a different level. And so you need a coach who can coach to that. You need a coach who can handle a superstar. Yeah. So, for instance, I'm just going to say this. I think it's kind of a rhetorical question. If you took Aaron Rodgers and he was coached by, let's just say, Andy Reid or Sean Payton, do you think you'd ever have any of those same problems? Do you think Aaron Rodgers, all the body language, the huffing and puffing and the rolling of the eyes and the changing of the plays, or do you think that Aaron Rodgers goes, okay, we're equals?
No, I don't think he can do that. I don't think he has it within himself. I think he would fight.
I don't think he respected McCarthy, to your point.
I don't think he respects anybody.
You know what? Well, look, I'll put it this way. That's one of those things we'll never know, because, you know what I mean? Like, when he started his career, Mike McCarthy was there. So if you already felt smarter than your coach from the beginning of your professional journey, you already felt like you were the smartest person. But if you came in under a legend, then it's like, obviously I'm not as smart as you. The learning curve might have been different, and then your personality might have been shifted a little bit as well. So I think
Aaron falling in the draft created a huge chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, 1,000%.
But what I'm saying is, and I really mean this when I say this, as I want you to think about this, Aaron's at practice all the time. He's interacting with McCarthy all the time. Back in their early years, even prior to a Super Bowl, okay? He's around him 24/7. He's seeing what we don't see. So he knows whether McCarthy's the real deal or not. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the point that I'm making is, so that's why when Sundays roll around and you see the eye rolling and the body language and the changing of the plays, it's because he didn't believe in them. There's a lot to be said about that. And then look how it reflects in Dallas. All these opportunities, all these miscues with the time management, even the play calling. 1 minute you're the play caller, then you're not the play caller. The comment about Kellen Moore, all these different decisions that he's made and stuff like that. And it's like, Aaron maybe saw that initially. Like I said, I'm not a Rodgers fan, but I mean, if you've ever been in the workplace and you were surrounded by somebody with a lot of talent, they tend to see things a little differently, right? They're prima donnas. But I think he saw something about McCarthy and just knew he just wasn't that dude.
Yeah, but look at how Aaron treated Matt LaFleur. He treats him. He doesn't even acknowledge him.
Do you believe in Matt LaFleur?
Yeah, but you give him the respect as a head coach so the other guys can believe in him.
Absolutely. That's part of a leader. No doubt.
And Aaron Rodgers is not one. And I'm going to tell you this, and this is something that I hold true to my heart. I think Aaron Rodgers is the most overrated quarterback in the game. And you know who made or what made Aaron Rodgers great? Is fantasy football. He's fantasy gold because he's consistent.
Yeah.
But what have you done? You do all of that. You hold your team hostage all those off seasons to lose to Jimmy Garoppolo in the conference game. Like, and this year they didn't even get that far. Josh and I predicted in the beginning of the season that they're not even going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, no,
I personally think he's completely
1,000%.
overrated. I want to see him go to the Jets for this reason. Saleh's a dog. Saleh will not deal with his shit.
I agreed. And where did Saleh used to be at? San Francisco, baby.
That's right. He was.
Yep.
Now, okay, so shifting gears a little bit.
Sorry, we went off on an NFL tangent.
Getting into a little bit of NBA, I just want to get your take on what makes a good NBA parlay in your opinion.
You know, I'm not a huge parlay guy, but every now and again, of course, like a lot of bettors, I like to delve into the parlays, right? I think if you're putting together an NBA parlay in particular, you really have to be, when it comes to NBA, you really have to be in tune like no other sport because there's 80 games. So in the NBA, it is not as simple as put yourself in the shoes of being what I like to call a square bettor, right? You're not a sharp. Okay, you're the average person. That average person really is not hitting those NBA parlays. Don't get me wrong, every now and then a dog will find a bone. What I'm saying is this. You have to be so in tune with what's going on because there's load management that's taking place. There's guys on teams that don't really want to be there. There's guys who are just like, for instance, you know, Russell Westbrook. I don't know if he ever really thought he was going to be there all season because there was so much controversy about him coming off the bench, et cetera, et cetera. Now, he ended up actually being very good, and he ended up probably, I think he could have easily been sixth man of the year. I don't know if that's like
something he wanted.
Right. It's kind of like a backhanded compliment because he is a Hall of Famer. I do respect his ability and the things he's accomplished. He's an amazing ball of energy, unlike I don't even know if we've ever seen anybody that was that explosive and that dynamic outside of Allen Iverson, right? And so kind of two different players. But anyways, back to the parlay thing. You really got to be in tune. Some of the things that I like when it comes to NBA parlays is same game parlays. So let me give you an example. Yesterday, again, it's on my Instagram. I was really big on the over in Mavericks Suns. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at the game and go, okay, we've got Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers all on the court. We've got Kyrie, we've got Durant, we've got Luka, we've got all these great role players for Phoenix. They got a lot of Chris Paul, Devin Booker. Those aren't role players, but there are some other ones, right? Yeah. Who are more of the role players. DeAndre Ayton. Yeah. I wouldn't, because he's not a superstar, you know what I mean? But the guy's very good. Mm-hmm. So the over in that game was the play. That happened. It soared over the total. The total was 233.5 points. Okay. I took the over. But, I mean, you splash in Kevin Durant over his point total, right? You splash in a couple of the other guys. You splash in how many total three-pointers would be made in the game. That soared over the total.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You look at it from a perspective of neither one of them had a great defense. There's a lot to prove yesterday in that game in terms of now Kyrie's on one team, Durant's on the other team, right? And so then you've got Luka, who's the wild card because he kind of plays a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because I don't think that he feels that he's as respected as he should be in his mind. So again, I threw out some of these human element factors, right? If you're going to put together a parlay, a serious parlay that you really believe can hit, there's so many different factors that you have to account for. I think in today's world, this Instagram, TikTok, YouTube world that we live in that you mentioned earlier, people think that it's just so easy to do now, right? Like, oh, I'm going to take the over and this and that, and I'm going to throw it all in there and it's going to, that this will cash. It's not as easy as that because, again, you've got so many other factors that you have to deal with. And also something that I mentioned the other day on one of the other podcasts that I was on is the NBA before every single game has a coaches and referees meeting. I don't know if you guys know that.
That's right.
Not, okay. Yeah. And there's a lot that I'm sure is discussed in those meetings.
What fouls will be called?
Correct.
What things we're looking at?
Have you ever, and again, this is rhetorical in nature. You ever watched an NBA game and you were like, oh man, they're going to score so many points tonight because it's LeBron and it's AD and it's this dude and that dude. And then you watch and the score is 100-91. But the over-under was 225. Where are those 35, 40 points at? Where are they? They're not there, right? What happened? So there's a lot of things that you'll see in the NBA vice other sports because there's 80 games. So I'm going somewhere with the whole 80 games thing. Going back to the load management, going back to sometimes these players, even though they play, they're not giving it their all because they're looking at the next game. They're looking at, well, we're already the 5th seed. There's 5 games. So it's very tricky. Specifically on NBA parlays, I really only like to bet the NBA when it's the playoffs.
Okay.
You know, yesterday was a different situation because it was such a featured marquee game, right? With all those superstars. I mean, that was a lot of bona fide superstars on the court at the same time. So it made for a great show. I knew going into yesterday's game the over was to play because think about it. Booker, Durant, and Luka and Kyrie are all going to have the mindset of, well, I got to get mine. Yeah. Because this is a huge stage. This is the first game where it was going to be Kyrie versus, Kyrie on one team, Durant on the other. Yep. It was featured. It was it wasn't necessarily a standalone game, but it was the first NBA game on the docket yesterday, 10 a.m., 10 Pacific time, 1 p.m. on the East Coast. So it was a big stage, so to speak, and all those guys want to make sure that they're going to get there. So again, I go back to the over in total 3-pointers made yesterday. That was a play. The over in terms of the total points, and then individual point totals. How many will Durant have, Booker, etc.? The mindset going into the game was, I got to get mine. This is a big stage. It's a big game. There's a lot of superstars. I looked at it, to be quite honest with you, almost like an all-star game. Where it's like, not really so worried about playing defense, but I do want to show the entire world who's watching, right? I do want to show the entire world who's watching who I am, i.e., those guys I named.
Well,
5 All-Stars.
I would have looked at it a little bit differently because if I'm Luka, and if I'm Kyrie, up until now it's 2 and 5. They're 2 and 5 together so far. I'd literally leave it all on the floor. I'd want everything to come out. I'd throw everything at the kitchen sink, especially now since this is such a huge spotlight.
Right.
So I'm surprised. I'm really surprised how that's going. I thought they would fare better together.
Meaning Dallas?
Yeah.
Well, the difference between the Dallas situation and the Suns situation, and what I mean by that is Durant and Irving going to those two different teams. Durant goes to the Suns. He sits out for 2.5 weeks before he ever plays a game. Mm-hmm. Kyrie goes to Dallas, and he's only out for a game or two, and then he jumps right into the fire with Luka to start trying to build that chemistry right away. Whereas Durant, he was quote-unquote injured, right? So he was taking all this additional extra time. I think a lot of that was, me personally, I think a lot of that was vanity.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out there. The fear, because Kevin Durant's very thin-skinned, the fear of him playing and not adding up right away, playing with Paul, playing with Ayton, playing with Booker, and then maybe not looking so good. I have a lot of respect for Kyrie jumping right in, going 2 and 5, and taking some losses on the chin. A couple of those they lost. They were right at the end of the game. They were games that could have went either way. But the respect that I had for Kyrie, he hasn't been a distraction in Dallas at all. He hasn't had any problems.
Nope, you haven't heard about anything.
There hasn't been any problems, no issues. He seems to be building the chemistry game by game, which is tough to do. But he jumped right in. I'm scratching my head with this whole thing with Durant. Like, where are you, dude? It's 2.5 weeks later. Now you're going to play your first game. But again, you're injured, right? So
now, what teams do you think you thought going into the season in the NBA would have performed better, maybe as a bettor?
Timberwolves, I think I really, before the start of the season, I really thought that the Timberwolves could be looked at right now. Now, pretend we're at the beginning of the season. Yeah. And you say, okay, you got Rudy Gobert, you got the Ant-Man, D'Angelo Russell. There's one other superstar or all-star that I'm...
Cat.
Thank you. Karl Anthony Towns, thank you. Just someone explain to me why those 4 dudes all on the court at the same time with a decent bench wouldn't be top of the Western Conference.
Top 5 at least.
Well, because I think
minimum.
It pointed out how much Rudy, because if you think about it, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was who are the most disappointing NBA stars this year. But I think it's single-handedly Rudy Gobert's fault. I think, and you look at how he performed last year and what he's done this year, they don't have faith in him anymore. And so when that faith, and he was the go-to, okay, it was Cat and it was Gobert, but now it's not Gobert.
Yeah.
So he loses in points for himself, and the team just, it's a different vibe. I mean,
but now look at the team. Russell's gone, so you get rid of D'Angelo Russell.
You get nothing back, essentially.
Yeah, there was really nothing there. So he goes to the Lakers, who I think now the Lakers become a little bit more legitimate noisemakers. They're not legitimate contenders. So I probably don't even want to get me started on the Lakers, but they're noisemakers. You know, they could maybe not only make the playoffs, but maybe win the first round. I don't know. I wouldn't go any further than that, to be quite honest with you. From a betting standpoint, I definitely wouldn't. But again, you look at the Timberwolves, and it's like at the beginning of the year, that was a team that I really thought, hey, this from a betting perspective, getting them probably at plus 1,500, right? 15 to 1, 18 to 1, somewhere they're somewhere in between 15 to 18 to 1, and just amazing how it all unraveled. And then going back to Gobert, he also has been injured like half the year too. You know, but he was never really this great offensive powerhouse. He was known as being a defensive guy in Utah. Right. And he made all this stink about never getting the money, not making the All-Star game a couple times when he felt like he should have made it. And he just created all this stink in Utah. And eventually that led to just, okay, let's get rid of this guy. We'll just get him out of here. You know, it could kind of be, I'm not going to say a cancer because I'm not there to know what they really meant. So I don't want to necessarily use that word. But it seems like it was like, let's just part ways, easier to get rid of this guy, let him be happy, let him spread his wings over here. I'm not saying there was a lot of animosity there, but I mean, Timberwolves would be definitely disappointing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and to your point, Gobert hasn't worked out, but then also what they got back for him in that trade is ridiculous. Yeah. Utah, George had the standings up earlier. You know, they're right there. There's, you know, even with all the losses that they've taken on their team, they're still a solid team. Like, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. All those picks, everything. That was definitely the Herschel Walker trade for me, happening to another Minnesota team.
Yeah. You love talking about
that. It's a bad trade. It's a bad trade. Yeah. Well, switching gears again to the NHL. I know I saw on your page you bet some NHL as well. I saw the hockey puck on there, so I was like, okay, well,
occasionally,
I'll throw some NHL out on them. The Rangers get former MVP Patrick Kane for a bag of magical beans, and as Ro would say, a pack of 2 Marlboro Reds,
a pack of Newport Menthols.
Yeah. Do you think that they have a legitimate shot now? Looking at the Stanley Cup?
I mean, I think if you look at where they were viewed before, vice what they're viewed as now with the addition of Kane, of course you look at that and go, oh, wow, okay, they have a little bit better of a chance. From a betting standpoint, I wouldn't even bother with the futures or anything like that. I think he's slightly past his prime. He's a heck of a player. I have so much respect for, you know, hockey players, these guys in the NHL, because it's such a grueling sport.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk so much about football and how physical football is. I just don't know if I could ever play hockey because
it's football on ice.
It really is.
82 games.
It's football on ice and fighting's legal, right?
Yeah,
it's like part of their culture of playing.
That's right.
I just have so much respect for the NHL and what these guys do and how many games they play a year. I think Vegas is going to get a lot of futures on them because the value, right? We always look for value.
Yeah.
But I really look at that and I just say that that's false hopes. So if you're
well, I'll say this. I will say this. The Golden Knights went and got Jonathan Quick, you know, multiple time Stanley Cup winner as well as Vezina Trophy winner. I don't know. You know what I mean? And I am not a Vegas Golden Knights supporter at all. I am a Caps fan.
Sure.
But when I saw that and they didn't have to give up anything, that's you never know. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think if you look at who are the favorites right now.
Yeah. Who do you think has a legitimate chance to win?
You know, when it comes to hockey right now, I mean, if you look at the run that the Bruins are on right now, I mean, I think they're on an 11 as we film right now. I think they're at a 10 or 11 game streak. Right?
They're right now they've lapped the field. They've got 103 points.
Yeah.
On the year, so they're by far and away.
Yeah, and I think momentum plays just like it does in a lot of sports. I think momentum in hockey is huge.
Yeah.
The confidence level goes up when you're seeing the puck go through the net that many times, as you just referenced.
Yeah.
It's huge. And so momentum is big. I could definitely see them making a splash. I do think that with the addition of the gentleman that you just mentioned on the Golden Knights, because they've been good ever since their inception, right? They're very consistent. The coach is very good. They're very fundamentally sound. They skate well. They score.
Yeah, but what I'm seeing is that the wheels fall off at the end with the Golden Knights.
Well, now talking about the Bruins, the Knights have the Bruins' former coach. They have Bruce Cassidy as the coach. I think, look, the Knights, the whole Western Conference is pretty wide open. Just in terms of a lot of players have moved. You talk about Patrick Kane moving, and then the Dallas Stars, they're still there, but who's their goaltender? Their goaltender, like for me, because we're getting close to NHL playoff time, and the biggest thing for me is who's your goaltender, and then puck luck. It's the game of hockey is so close. You know what I mean? That's why it's so hard to bet, truthfully, because it's literally one goal.
Yeah.
Okay. And they got lucky one more time and we didn't, or they screened the goalie property and we didn't.
And going back to how physical the game is, so from a betting perspective, I look at as a professional handicapper, what I do is if I'm going to target a situation in hockey, right, which is not as regular as, let's say, college basketball or NFL or college football, et cetera. I really, really am judicious about what picks I give out for NHL. Very judicious. I mean, I would say since the start of NHL this year to now, I would say I've maybe given out somewhere between 30 to 35 plays of hockey. Wow. That's very small.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Very small. So it's every couple of days when I look at the board, I'm looking for situations. Like I can tell you right now that Tampa Bay has lost 3 in a row. So I don't care who they play tonight or tomorrow.
You're betting.
I'm going to slam Tampa Bay Lightning because they lost yesterday 6-0, which was completely shocking to me, right? And then the day before, they just lost at home. I forget who that was, but then the game before that, they lost at home to the Florida Panthers. So they lost to the Panthers. They lost another game at home. So they very rarely lose back-to-back at home. It's extremely rare for the Lightning. And then yesterday they lose to the
cracked.
Yeah, to the I think it was to the Hurricanes.
Okay.
And so 3 in a row. So now I can tell you again, I don't care who they play this next game or this next match.
You're thumping it.
I will be all over Tampa Bay. I'll take them on the money line, and I'll also take them on the puck line with the +1.5.
Yeah.
I look for situations like that in hockey, right? So I'm really transparent about how I do this and what I look for. And when it comes to NHL picks, that's what I'm really looking for. Because of what you said, it can be challenging to handicap, right? Because of all the different factors that you just said. And then again, with how physical it is, being on the road, when your body is that sore and you're putting it through that much, all that this team's the favorite and they're -300 and everyone thinks that,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Hockey is so different because of that.
Yeah.
And so I use the plays very sparingly, and I look for situations. And somebody hearing this might go, "Yeah, that makes complete sense." No kidding, right? And but remember, I go off of the average guy sitting at home, or the average bettor, I should say, that's just sitting at home, who's just looking at the board and wants to scratch that itch, so to speak, of placing a wager. You got to be careful with that. You can't. I like what I see all the time online is, I put these 3 NHL favorite plays together in a parlay. This is going to hit -200, -300, -150.
Yeah.
They all lose, right? Yeah. Because it's so unpredictable.
So for me, in terms of hockey betting, if I do bet, I really only bet my division.
Yeah.
Because I know each of those teams' DNA. I know every player on those teams. You know what I mean? And
the division that you follow.
Yeah, because I'm a Caps fan. Yeah. So, so I know what the Pittsburgh Steelers, what the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to do. I know what the New York Rangers look like.
Yeah.
I know what the Devils look like. I know what the Carolina Hurricanes look like. Like, I know my division.
Yeah.
So I can bet them confidently and comfortably because I'm like, they're going to kill that team. You know what I mean? Or that's going to be a tougher game. Leave that alone. Like,
I just remembered something.
Okay.
Because this stuff bothers me when I can't remember.
Okay.
Tampa Bay lost to the Sabres.
Oh, no.
And they were minus 165. Again, $1.65. So for everybody who's going to be listening, watching this later, when I say that term, minus 165 costs $1.65 to make $1, or it costs $165 to make $100. So again, that's not for you guys. That's for everybody listening, right? Who's like, what is he talking about? But yeah, they lost to the Panthers. Okay, that's kind of expected. Panthers are a Stanley Cup caliber type of team to make a run.
Interstate rival.
Right, it's an interstate rival, but they had Tampa Bay, right? So right after the NHL All-Star game, Tampa Bay stayed in South Florida and they played the Panthers. They got blown out. They lost like 5-1 or 6-1, something like that. Then it was only a few weeks later that the Florida Panthers come up to Tampa, which is just a few days ago. I think it was on Thursday or Friday. And boom, they end up blowing out Tampa again in Tampa Bay. Then they turn around and they lose to, like I said, they lose to the Panthers, they lose to the Sabres, and then yesterday they lost 6-0 to the Hurricanes, I believe. And so I'm telling you right now, whoever Tampa Bay plays next, that again,
they got it coming.
Yes, so gamble responsibly, but that would be a situation that I would definitely hammer.
I love it. Well, to close this out, I want to definitely talk about baseball. I want to talk about the major leagues. Spring training is here. Who are you most excited to see this year? And do you have a baseball team?
Devil Rays. Well, I say Devil Rays, but Tampa Bay Rays. I always call them the Devil Rays.
No, you're still the Devil Rays. Yeah. Okay, so this is for everybody. Who are you most excited to see this year in the league? And then who are you most excited to see from your team?
From my team, let's start with that, Tampa Bay Rays. I want to see a healthy Kevin Kiermaier. I think he is one of the best baseball players, all-around baseball players. His ability to not only hit, but he's been an all-star in terms of him being a center fielder. So defensively, he's outstanding. I mean, if you ever go watch a Kevin Kiermaier highlight reel, I mean, this guy looks like Ken Griffey Jr. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, I mean, this guy is very talented. He's obviously a great hitter, great fielder. He can steal a base whenever it's needed. He's just a great all-around player. He was hurt like 90% of last year, even when the Rays went to the playoffs. I think he came back for a short period and then re-injured.
He wasn't right.
Yeah, he re-injured. He re-injured the issue, and so he just pretty much we didn't have him last year. And I think had we had him, I think that could have made a huge difference, especially going to playoffs.
That definitely changes a few games for sure.
Of course, yeah. Your starting center fielder being out. Yeah. So that's who I'd like to see come back, healthy this year, have a big year, be an all-star again, and help the Tampa Bay Rays be relevant. I mean, I think that they'll win games. They'll be relevant. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% if they'll be a playoff team this year or not. Who I'm most excited to see is I would love to see the Toronto Blue Jays with all the stars that they have, all these young stars, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Craig Biggio's son. I forget his first name.
I always forget.
But Biggio, I just call him Biggio. so Biggio, Bo Bichette, right? I mean, you've got three guys who all come from this lineage of these professional, not just professional baseball players, but
stars,
Hall of Famers. Yeah. Hall of Famers and former All-Stars. So they've got some decent pitching, maybe even better than decent. I think they made a big acquisition in the offseason. But I mean, all those stars on one team, because we've been talking about the Blue Jays the last couple seasons. The first season they were all together on the same team. It was like, oh, this is a really cute looking team. This is really good. There's some potential. Yeah. But just like any other team in any other professional sports league, eventually potential has to come to fruition and start having real results.
That's right.
And so they have not made a deep playoff run yet since they've all been together. I do think that this is their year. I think that from a betting perspective, if you're out there and you're looking for a futures bet, like if you wanted to get value. So remember, if I bet the Yankees right now, there's not going to be huge value because they're the Yankees. So I might see the Yankees right now. Like if we pull it up, Yankees are probably somewhere between 7 and 10 to 1 of winning the World Series, right? And it's half the part is because, yes, they have a good roster, but it's also because they're the Yankees. It's the same thing with the Cowboys. Cowboys are the most bet team in the NFL, and it doesn't matter whether how good they are or how average they are, they're always going to be a heavily bet team, and because there's more eyes on the Cowboys, therefore it affects their odds. So same thing with the Yankees. So if I'm looking for value this year, if I want to pick who's going to win the World Series, or maybe the American League, etc., I would take a good look at the Toronto Blue Jays because from top to bottom, if you look at their roster, they're pretty good.
I like it. Ro, who do you like?
Even in a division with the Houston Astros, the Yankees, the Red Sox, I don't know. Nobody cares about the Orioles, but
don't you besmirch the good Baltimore Orioles?
They surprised everybody last year.
They did. They got hot.
With their little comeback towards the end.
They
yes,
did get hot.
More than little. It was more than little. They were. Again, talking about betting, they killed the Orioles last year killed so many guys' bankrolls because there's bettors out there that are looking to fade certain teams.
Yeah, constantly. Like if whoever it is that they're betting, I'm going to bet against them.
So again, Yankees going to play the Orioles. Oh, okay, this will be one of those, from a square better standpoint. Oh, I'll just load up. This will be a great day to get back on track. I'll just load up with Yankees to beat them. Matter of fact, I'll take the run line -1.5. So now the Yankees got to win by 2, and then the Orioles end up winning as a dog outright, right? And so they did that so many times last year. I learned my lesson very early in the year, and I stayed away literally from almost every single Orioles game because they just kept winning and winning and winning. And even when they lost, they would lose by 1. And again, if you were trying to take the run line at -1.5, you weren't making money. You were getting killed. Yeah. So I learned my lesson very early. And sometimes there's just teams like that. Again, talking specifically about sports betting, sometimes there's just teams out there that you have to stay away from. Don't think that fading the Orioles is going to be easy, and you could substitute that team with probably countless others in countless other sports.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm excited about seeing the Yankees with Rodon. I'm excited seeing Garrett Cole come off this last season with a strike record. I'm excited to see, more than anything else, who wins the shortstop battle. Because right now, as of now, it's Gleyber Torres.
You keep Gleyber in there. That's a former Cub.
But he's not great at shortstop. I think this newbie Volpe is giving him a run for his money because I don't even think. I'm not going to say that. I think the conversation is going to be between Gleyber, Cabrera, and Volpe to see for the shortstop position. I'm excited to see how Rodon does within our rotation with Severino, with Cole, with Nestor. I think it's going to be exciting. I don't think the pitch clock is going to affect them because the way the Yankees organization is, they're taught to keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm looking to see just for funsies what Aaron Judge does this year, because all eyes are on him and how many runs. I'm excited to see what the Mets do.
Okay.
I am really excited to see what the Mets do. I think that I like what Steve Cohen is doing. He knows what to do. He knows what positions to fill, and he's spending money. Listen, I don't dislike the Mets. I know a lot of Yankees fans are like, I actually root for New York teams when they're underdogs, especially. So now, because I think it's good for the sport, just like when the Knicks do well, it's good for all the NBA. Yeah. I'm excited to see what the Mets do in a very big way.
All right. For me, for the Cubs, I'm excited to see Cody Bellinger, what he brings to the team. I'm excited to see, especially the first half of the season because, Wrigley Field there's 2 different Wrigleys. There's Wrigley before it gets warm when the wind is blowing in, and Wrigley when it warms up. And, if he can get into May, June, and he's at 12 to 15 home runs, I'm excited to see what he does throughout the rest of the season. For the rest of the league, I'm excited to see Shohei Ohtani. I'm excited to see what he does this year. I think we can talk about it quickly after this, but I think that he possibly wins the Cy Young this year, even on a not great Angels team. I think that he puts together a good enough season to possibly get that done. So
there's a lot of pressure on the Angels this year because if they don't make the playoffs, maybe even more than that, he's gone.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And you can't even be mad. Like if you're a fan of the Angels, and I'm totally, I'm neutral on this, but just from a fan standpoint, if you're the Angels, you can't even be mad that the dude wants to leave if this season doesn't add up. Yeah, right.
At all. You've wasted all of Mike Trout, and you've wasted Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
I love Mike Trout.
You've completely wasted 2 of the greatest
I like Trout too.
Players of their generation.
I want to see him healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's see what a healthy Mike Trout can do, because you talk about damage, he'll bring it. I mean, I can't. I don't know why I do know why I love him. I love his grit. He reminds me of old baseball players. He reminds me of Pete Rose a lot. And his like willingness to go in and really swing, and his energy is tough football. Tough baseball, and I love it. Like,
yeah.
And his skill set is ridiculous.
1,000%. Do you guys see anybody taking a run at the record books this year? You know, with Aaron.
I do. I think Aaron. I think Aaron Judge will. I think he wants to see if he can do it again.
Sure.
However, it's kind of the kiss of death, because you broke such a monumental record. I mean, as a Yankee, that is unbelievable. And I don't think it's realistic to expect him to do so, but I think he's going to want it for himself. But more than anything, the Yankees need to concentrate on winning the World Series and getting to the World Series. The way that we were swept by the Astros last year, first round. I mean, if we had DJ LeMahieu, which is a big part, he needs to be healthy, because without him, we saw what happened. But I don't care about any records right now. I need us to get to the World Series and win.
Winning record, that's the most important part, right? What about you? Do you see any records possibly being challenged this year?
I'm with Ro. I think that just seeing Judge and seeing and hearing him and kind of having an idea of his personality and his competitiveness, I will almost guarantee he's not going to say it on TV. There's no way he says it, because he's not going to want to set himself up for failure.
Sure.
I guarantee you internally he's thinking, I'm going to outdo what I did last year, because he's replaying in his head so many times where he feels like, I probably could have got one there. I probably, you know what, that game against this team, I think I could have done better. You know what I mean? So he's probably replaying a lot in his head. Again, he broke the record, right? And he goes down in baseball, you know, he's already a great player, so now he's a legend within the game that will still play for many more years to come. But these guys, professional athletes, are competitive like no other, and there's nothing like beating yourself, because that's what it comes down to, is can you be better than you? You know what I mean? So I really do think that I agree with her wholeheartedly. I think he's going to go after it to break his own record, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think that he's not going to say it out loud. I think they're going to try. They're going to set him up. The media will set him up a few times to see if he'll say it.
Every week.
Yeah.
You know, and as he continues to hit home runs, it'll get bigger and bigger. And it'll be almost like part 2 of last year.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Stanton in that mix. And you know what?
Or Rizzo.
Right. Or Rizzo. I don't think Rizzo is realistically. I don't think it's realistic to think that he
Why? He was next up from Judge last year.
The only reason I say this, and this is as a former, well, not a former, but as a Cub fan, his back won't allow Anthony every year from here on out, he's going to take at least 20 to 30 games off, just because his back won't allow him to play every day.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So for Ant to give you 40 home runs, shoot, you take that
and run.
Right.
And then you look at his time with the Cubs, and again, injuries were a factor.
Yeah.
But he was a little, after the World Series when they won, he was very inconsistent after that.
Yeah.
He really wasn't like, it wasn't like there was all these huge Anthony Rizzo highlight reels of how great he was after that. He was phenomenal in those seasons that led up to the World Series. He was phenomenal that season in terms of them winning the World Series. But I think he fell off. I know he had a great year with the Yankees this past year. I don't think it's realistic to think that he'll even repeat that. I like the guy. I think he's one of the great guys in baseball. There's something about him. He just seems so genuine.
He's a great
dude.
He's also from Florida, I think. I think he's originally from Florida. So he seems very genuine. I love the athletes, the pro athletes who are genuine. It means a lot. Like I saw a highlight once of, I don't know if you guys ever saw the highlight of the young kid who was waiting in the room for Lamar Jackson, and when Lamar Jackson
I did see
walked in. You know, Lamar's like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going?" And the kid ran up to him and he just hugged him and he's crying. And Lamar is just so genuine in that moment. I mean, it's giving me goosebumps talking about it. And so he embraces the kid, and he tells the kid, he goes, "Oh, don't cry. You know, it's okay, buddy." You know, any other mega star, because he's a mega star, might have been uncomfortable or awkward in that moment where the camera could have caught a little bit of that awkwardness. Like, oh, I don't even know what to do. This kid's crying. Lamar embraces him. You know what I mean? And I don't want to get all mushy gushy here at the end, but it really was it when I hear that when I use the term genuine, that's what I think about, and that made an impact on me. My respect level for Lamar went so high, and if you ever notice him in his interviews, he's always like, "Yes, ma'am," and "Yes, sir," and just
1,000%.
so genuine and down to earth. But that scene where that kid's crying, matter of fact, and then I'll be quiet. He actually wipes the kid's tear off of his cheek.
Aww.
Because he's like, oh, don't, you know what I mean? It is something else. So I really like genuine. The athletes who are genuine and have a heart and just are down to earth and in touch with reality.
Like A-Rod.
Stop. And then she goes to the complete.
I'm just kidding. I actually can't.
She wanted to mix it up before we were done.
I actually can't stomach A-Rod. My God.
Oh my goodness. All right. So I think Aaron Judge is going to hit 65 home runs this year. So that actually leads into how we're going to close the show. Quickly, Ro, give me your Cy Young for both National League and American League.
Okay. So I have Ohtani and I've got Rodon.
Okay. All right. And then what about you?
I definitely like Ohtani. I think it's going to be his time. I think she kind of stole. I was going to go Rodon, but because I think he's going to have a monster year. I think that being part of the Yankees and being in that culture, when you're around a successful culture, it tends to breed success. Now I kind of want to take like a long shot to maybe be a Cy Young winger, maybe Snell.
Okay.
Maybe Snell. Could we get maybe Blake Snell?
Yeah, that's solid. So for me, so I guess Shohei is getting a lot of love today. I'm going with Shohei Ohtani, and then also I'm going all Japanese. So Yu Darvish with the Padres.
You know what? Good one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Good one.
That's because I think the Padres are going to. They're if they had now that they're having a full year with like all those guys together.
I like that.
I think the Padres could be dangerous this year.
I like that.
For MVP, who do you have for both leagues?
Aaron Judge.
Okay. Yeah.
And Shohei Ohtani.
Okay. All right. Well, for the National League though.
Francisco Lindor.
Okay. All right, that's not bad. What about you, Fox?
Is Tatis back this year? Is he back, or did his suspension overlap?
No, he's not back.
He's not back.
Good call.
So he's not going to be in the mix.
No,
I don't think he is.
You guys didn't like that one?
No, that was pretty good.
That was great.
I completely
remembered.
Forgot.
Hey, because if he was, would you agree? If he was in National League, maybe National League MVP, possibly.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's like.
So I'll stick with Padres. I want to go with a little bit of a long shot.
Okay.
Why not Manny Machado?
Okay.
Why not?
I really like Fox. Fox is
National League, Manny Machado, Padres. Padres are going to be in the mix. They're going to be a playoff team.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now, and to my point, I do believe that Tatis does come back at some point in the season to make the Padres that much better.
Yes.
And then American League, I think American League, I'll also go with, let's go Altuve.
Okay.
Let's go Altuve just to get two long shots on
Get
the
out. Get out.
Get
out.
Anything Astros.
I can't say another Yankee because she already said a Yankee.
Altuve?
Why not?
Anything Astros, she can't tolerate it.
Why not? Well, because listen, again, from a betting standpoint.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I need to provide. Are you ready for this? I gotta provide value.
Yes. Okay.
So who can I look at? Would you agree that he's a top 10 candidate?
Yeah, that's a value pick, though, too.
Yeah, so it's a value pick.
That's definitely a value pick.
Same with Machado. If you go down the roster, if you were looking at the odds right now and you looked at Machado, I mean, and I haven't, I don't know. I guarantee Machado's, 25-1, 30-1?
Easy, or more.
Right?
Truthfully. No, that's fair.
Well, really quick, I want to ask Fox, how do you feel about the new rules in baseball?
Love it.
Oh my goodness.
Love it.
We're not even gonna get there because we gotta end the show. For me, I'm gonna go. Well, obviously, I said Aaron Judge is gonna hit 65 home runs, so Aaron Judge is my MVP in the American League. And then, just like you, I kept it on the Padres, and I'm gonna go with Juan Soto.
What about a dark horse? Don't leave me out on a limb. I gave a couple of dark horse candidates. Because dark horse is what they want to hear about.
Well, dark horse. I'm going to say my Cubs are going to win 95 games.
What?
I'm drunk.
95.
Against who?
I'm drunk. And if that happens...
The Bad News Bears? Who are they playing?
Well, my division, if you really look at the division's not good.
95 games?
Well, hold on. Okay, the Cardinals, all right. But the Brewers have kind of started to cut into that team a little bit, so they're not that great. And then, the Pirates, trash for the most part, and then the Reds, trash for the most part. So you really think about it, it's possible. We did spend a little money freaking finally, but, it's...
95's a big number.
If that happens as a dark horse, I would say Cody Bellinger.
I was going to say Kershaw.
That's a good one.
As a dark horse, Kershaw.
Kershaw has, I'm not even going to say it. He has no chance.
Ooh.
He is so past his prime.
Dark horse.
Wow, you don't think Kershaw will give him 20 wins?
Are you watching the same Kershaw as I am?
I haven't.
He was
watched
past
it.
his prime 2 seasons ago.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
He's done.
He gets hurt. He gets hurt.
I didn't even think he'd play this year.
Yeah.
I think he's done.
Can we talk about how funny it is that Correa ended up back in Minnesota? My theory is that he has some scorching STD because they won't disclose what this medical condition is.
He's got herp.
No. He's got something. No. I am willing to, because if you think about it, let's do deductive reasoning. If it was anything, it behooves him and the organization to squash it. And nobody has talked about what this medical reason is. I think it's some crazy Dominican STD.
Is this a bit?
No. She's dead serious. Listen.
Hey, I hit her with this is a bit. Seinfeld. Is this a bit? By the way, I never got a chance to say it, so I'm saying it now. Okay. I'm the biggest Seinfeld fan.
Oh, there's my guy. All right. I'm gonna find a way. I'll find a way.
It's unwatchable for me.
I don't know how, because whenever anybody is like so anti,
I try over like I did with Game of Thrones. I've tried. I like The Wire. I want to like The Wire so much, and I can't. Because I want to get into it. It's anxiety over nothing. It's white people having anxiety over nothing. It's like the bus driver didn't wave to me today. And so I'm going to obsess over it. I'm going to call all my friends to obsess over it too. And I'm going to bog down my nervous system because of it. No.
I will say this. I'm with you. I'm going to spout out a few things I've never watched. Never watched Game of Thrones. Yeah. I got one for you because we're all probably close to the same age bracket, right? I have never once seen not even one episode of Entourage.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, that's
so there's certain shows. There's certain shows that, and you know how there's Entourage people out there. Oh, you got to see, right? So I've never seen Entourage. I've never seen like Ballers. I've never seen
Ballers.
Game of
never
Thrones.
seen Ballers?
Ballers was good. Ballers actually was
I'm not
good.
a Dwayne Johnson guy.
Okay.
Can't stand him.
Oh, I love him.
I can't even stomach him.
Oh, you can't stand it.
It's so fake. Everything is so fake. He's in too many things. He's overexposed himself. He's in too many things. I can't even take him seriously.
Well, I'll say
He's
this
successful.
but I'll say this about Ballers. That was kind of the beginning of him being in a lot of stuff. And that
True.
one,
I'll give you that. Yeah,
that one,
absolutely.
it was a good show. Like in terms of, especially the first 2 seasons. The first 2 seasons were great. The last 2 seasons.
We're awful.
Well, I won't say it was awful, but he went. I'll just give you a quick rundown. He went from literally being like a CPA to an NFL owner in like the span of 4 years.
Yeah.
So that was still to me
So
was like, all right, now.
What's another show that we can come up
Sopranos. With? Tell me you watch Sopranos.
Look at me.
Okay, good.
Hey.
I never really got into it too much.
Look at me. You don't think I watched Sopranos? Are you kidding me?
I figured, but
You're
that's
from
true.
Florida. I don't know.
Well, the only reason I didn't really get into Sopranos was because it came out when I was in college and I did not have HBO. So I missed a lot of it. And then by the time it got rolling,
stream it.
But this was back when, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't watch it.
Truth be told, my Sopranos experience was I intermittently watched it because I'm with you, like back when it was on HBO or show. It was HBO.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was back in the day before all the streaming stuff. And so it was like if you caught it, you caught it.
Yes.
And then if you were lucky enough to maybe catch a rerun during the week because it aired again. And so to watch them consecutively, I did not do until recently. Only recently, 2 years ago, I sat down, watched it from start to front.
And how amazing is it?
Oh, it's so good. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Sopranos and others that are like that.
Did you watch? Okay, this is real. I love talking about this. Did you watch Mad Men?
No.
Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Yes. I didn't watch Breaking Bad until 10 years after
Me
it was
neither.
off,
I don't watch
off the
it.
air. I binge watched it on Netflix, and then and it ended up, I go, wow.
No, the ending ruined the whole.
I got something better for you, though. Did you, and this better be a yes. Did you watch Better Call Saul? All 4 or 5 seasons.
No.
Then you are missing out, let me tell you. Because that guy, which by the way used to write for Saturday Night Live, I forget his name. That gentleman who is the star of Better Call Saul, the lawyer from Breaking Bad.
I watched a few episodes.
If you liked Breaking Bad, there's no way that you won't like Better Call.
I'll give it another. I'll give it another shot
because it's the origin of how he became who he was.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Well, be that as it may, I'll take this moment to go ahead and bring us to a close because we could talk about TV shows all night. Thank you guys so much again for watching. For Max Taylor, thank you so much again for
Fox.
Max. Where the heck did Max come from? Fox Taylor. Thank you.
Fox takes it to the max.
There you go.
You're gonna start maxing it out as far as all these bets.
Absolutely.
I think that's where I triggered that in my mind. And from, of course, the front row, I just want to thank you guys again for everything and continuing to watch us. And for Georgie in the back,
shout out,
who wasn't a part of this one as much. Oh, no. Thank you guys. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you Max again. Fox.
Wow.
Fox. Go ahead and give them all your information.
Yeah. So for everybody listening and watching, you can go to thekingovodds.com. But the easiest way to get a hold of me, to literally talk to me, I answer every single DM that I get on Instagram. Instagram's the fastest way and the best way to get a hold of me. You can see all my content. I post content every single day. You'll see different results from the games that I send out. And I'm one of the most transparent cappers in the game. I don't even like the term handicappers. I like to say sports consultant, right? But I literally send out every single thing that I say and do. So if I say I went 4-1, you'll literally see everything that I said come to fruition on my website and on my Instagram. So everything is 100% transparent. I look forward to hearing from you guys out there.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being on.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Fox.
Yeah, thank you.
I won't call you Max again.
Oh, good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Take care.